there's another one. So there's in the X News Telegram channel, there's also a picture of the block explorer. Oh no, he added it into the thread. Gotcha. Okay, awesome. I was gonna say if I have to pull it up separately, I can, but so it looks like less than 1 million blocks to go on stage. They're still on stage 7. It's been days on stage 7. So Geth, EBS blocks are done. Prism flags configuration are done. Nice. So translation. Stage 7 is almost done. Less than 1 million blocks. He makes it sound good, at least. I don't know how many total blocks there are, but less than 1 million blocks to go. And Geth, EBS. You know, he keeps saying Geth, but I don't know if we're calling it GPLS now, since we're forking Go ETH, Go Ethereum, which includes Geth, and that's Go Pulse, as far as I know. I think Geth is just the common word, but I think the client's probably going to be GPLS, I would imagine. But yeah, we'll see. Geth EBS snapshots are done. Okay, that's a good one. So if he's saying actually EBS snapshots, so let's Google for that, because that is a cloud deal. So of course, if you have been following, they definitely looks like the nodes, at least for testnet, maybe mainnet too, but at least for testnet, are launching in Amazon's cloud. EC2 is the compute services, S3 is the storage service, and you have the EBS, which let's see, you can do snapshots. There's other services. I mean, Amazon has like 100 different cloud services you can use for different stuff. So EBS used to create a backup, critical workloads, large database file systems. It's good for scaling data and snapshots. And what is a snapshot? So kind of like, well, if you haven't used a virtual machine, it's hard to explain too, but basically think of it, I guess, a blockchain snapshot too. It's kind of like that, except in a fork, a snapshot, it's just a picture in time of whatever it is. So it could be a database, could be a file system of a server, maybe it could be a blockchain, all that. So EBS snapshots, and then I don't know why I said Geth EBS. Okay, so I guess the blockchain, the execution client Geth, the blockchain data that it's syncing, they're using EBS snapshots for that. So, okay, that's cool. That makes sense. Prism flags configuration done. Awesome. Prism is a consensus client. One of the consensus clients that PulseChain is going to support. Flags are done. Configuration done. Okay, looks like progress. Here's a screenshot. You can see all that stuff. And then I'll get to questions in the chat just a second. And then let's see the next tweet. Block Explorer integration testing. New indexing backend and contract verification infrastructure. So blockchain integration. So before, the screenshot we saw looked very much like a fork of Beacon chain. So let's do Beacon chain. Let's see how much. So is this a different one, or is this a fork 2? Because I see the interface looks pretty similar, but different stuff going on. I see the epochs, I see the blocks. Maybe this is a different view too, because I know, let's see, I'll show you the, I'll go over to the previous screenshot he showed of the Beacon Explorer. Well, it's not on here. Or it's in a thread as well. Let's see. It's not on that one. Yeah, I love how all of a sudden Richard wants to talk about dev stuff at the PulseChain conference. He did not want to talk about that. Maybe it's on this one. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Maybe it was just on the Hex News Telegram. But before, it looked very, very similar to this. I mean, just basically just a fork. I mean, it looked like. But this is looking a little different. So I'm not sure if it's a different view of it or they just made a bunch of changes and they're showing different stuff. That could be it. I don't know why they would fork two different beacon or block explorers. So I'm not sure on that. Interesting. I'm going to guess it's still part of the same fork, but a different view. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Cool. And then on this one, let's see, I'll go through new indexing backend and contract verification infrastructure. Contract verification infrastructure. I'm not sure how to interpret that one. He's very, very short on this one with details. New indexing backend. So they're indexing something on the backend. Backend could be the clients, could be pulling out the blockchain data, it could be building an index of some sort, some data source. Maybe the blockchain explorer needs to, that's part of that. So he's talking about the block explorer is indexing, so it can be faster and quickly find things on the UI. Probably part of that. So this new indexing backend and contract verification infrastructure sounds like block explorer stuff set up. So cool. And so those are the, oh, okay. So on the apps part, I think that's the apps drop down. Testnet v3 Beacon Explorer. Okay. Well, maybe this is different because if they're doing two different ones, or maybe this is just a shortcut for the same, I'm not sure. Anyways, I'm not sure, so I'll skip that one. PulseX, cool. It's got a link for that. Still V2, he mentioned the other day. I'll go over the updates from the stream as well. That I talked a little bit on Coffee's stream, but he has said PulseX is going to be V2. So I know a lot of people like V3. I think there's advantages and disadvantages. Overall, for Ethereum at least, V3 sounds like the best way to go. Seems like it wasn't a regression from the Uniswap people. And me and Sam Stoller talked about that a lot too. We had a whole conversation. It's fantastic. If you look at the liquidity providing, RHMax liquidity providing, that was the first one. Second one was me and Sloth. First one was with Stoic, Sam Stoller and me. We talked about it, you know, whether he would fork it. And I just don't think, I speculate Richard just doesn't want to delay anything any further. And there are some points he thinks that Pumpamentals could be favor V2 in our particular ecosystem with the pairs that we trade on. Details TBD, but there could be, you know, again, Richard's playing 4D chess. So I'm sure there's things we don't know and can't reason about because he's got in his back pocket. He's got to figure it out. Pulse Ramp Bridge. So there's a bridge named Pulse Ramp. We've known about that from the previous screenshots as well. Sacrifice Checker. Awesome. Testnet V3 faucets. That's cool. That's a new thing I don't think we shared screenshots on before. A faucet so you can get TPLS, at least maybe other coins to play around with. So you can do transactions, maybe do certain features, maybe kind of validator. Maybe, I don't know how much the faucet is going to give you, but to be a validator, maybe, oh, that's actually something we may learn too when Testnet V3 launches. What will be the validator numbers? What will be the amount you need? Will it be 1 million times 30 ETH? Or will it be something else? That's something that we aren't 100% sure about that we will know in V3, hopefully. So it's awesome. Transactions happening. 2 days ago, transactions were happening. So they've been testing it. They've been working on it. They're doing dev stuff. So with that, I will, before I go to the chat, I do want to talk about just what I learned on the stream just for a minute. So if you didn't watch me on Coffee last night, he did mention we're closer to the end than the beginning of the bear market. That's what Richard Hart said. So that is, I think that's good news, if anything. If you want to believe in that this brutal bear market, maybe we're through the worst of it. And that could even, you could even interpret that as us bottoming. Maybe he thinks we've bottomed. Because if we're closer to the end than the beginning, and the middle is the bottom, assuming middle is bottom, take that for what you will. And then it definitely seems like the clients are done, at least for the most part, because the code is running. So again, if you define done as the code is running, because you can't sync the blockchain, which is what we're doing now, as what we just talked about, you can't sync the blockchain unless the clients are running. So the code seems to be done or working at least. I'll say that. And what do you do when you're syncing the blockchain? Usually you're preparing for deployment. You're getting ready to launch and all that stuff, usually. Hopefully I get Dipcatcher on here sometime to talk about the integer slots. You know what? I'm going to send them, just in case you can hop on, I'm going to send them a link real quick. I can't quite explain. I don't have enough information or blockchain background to explain the slots integer expansion. Richard said it 15 different times issue, but I've talked about it a little bit with Dipcatcher on the coding AMA. Maybe he has some more thoughts on it too, but I'll send him a link just in case he wants to hop on. Let me. Send him a link just in case he's around and wants to hang out. Don't expect anything, but cool guy, that guy. So what I was talking about, yeah, he knows more about the integer slot supply issue. We've talked about it a little bit before. And then, yeah, he keeps mentioning Geth. I think that'll be GPLS, I imagine. And those were going to be the primary clients for the launch, but they forked the Block Explorer, I think the beacon chain that I've been talking about, which uses Aragon and Lighthouse, which are the two other clients we support, two other options. So they had to support all 4 clients and do the work to fork all of them instead of just 2 before. So that could have caused some of the delay in the testnet as well, because they had to support all the clients because they wanted to use the Block Explorer that they forked. And then they just finished the expansion slot stuff. They worked on that issue, solved that for Aragon and Lighthouse. So he said that. So maybe they're still working on it for Prism and Geth. He did mention that. And then he said probably launch V3. When he left the door open for mainnet, which I thought was a little interesting. I don't know why. I wouldn't want to. As much as I want PulseChain to launch, I think we need a testnet first. This is a completely new thing. I even said before, quick testnet V4 after we work the bugs out in this one, if there are any. I think that would be good as far as the dev process goes. So I'd be extremely surprised if we went to mainnet. I would not expect that at all. And I wouldn't think that would be a good thing. Honestly, I think we need a testnet. We want the thing to work. That's my opinion. And then he said weeks. And then he mentioned 3 weeks. Could be next week's. So who knows? I mean, he said 6 months for PulseChain. Out of his butt answer. We're at 22 months now. So you can time everything by the old math. You can times everything times 4, times 3, times 4. So that could be 3 or 4 to 11 or 12 weeks. Something like that. I don't know. February, March are in play based on a generous interpretation. I don't think it'll be hours or days though, but I don't know. Nobody knows. Those are the highlights. I talked about he did say PulseX V2 fork. He's not changed the tone on that for a while. And again, maybe V2 has some fundamentals with specific to our ecosystem. That would be great. So we'll trust him with that one. I'm not a PulseChain dev. I'm just a guy who can read and chew bubblegum at the same time. So that's what I'm trying to bring you, that kind of information.